that wrong. Write that wrong. Ooh, gotta write that wrong right now. How is it going, my friends? We are trying a new streaming software. So there's that. Get used to that. Get fun. Get fun. Get funky. Get free. I wanna get free. No, nobody wants to sing that terrible song. All right. So come on in. The water is fair to middling. A little murky. A little murky. A little turkey. All right, let's see if we can get this thing centered finally too. All right, I think we're doing good. We'll see if anybody pops up in the live chat soon in a moment. While we're waiting for that, we'll play with the sound levels just a little bit, see how things are going. I hope everybody is doing well tonight. I am doing a live stream that hopefully has like the new community mode or something on. I don't know. That's what I told the computer to do. And I told it, like, hey, pump the brakes on the freaking live stream ads. I don't want those anymore. I didn't demonetize or whatever, deregulate the channel, but I said, hey, I'm sick of all the ads. So I hope you guys see less if you guys were seeing many or any or whatever. So let me know after the fact or now if anybody gets ads other than pre-roll or post-roll. But how are y'all doing? Leandro, or Leonardo, never mind. I have Leandro Sosa in my head, the fish ichthyologist. But hello, Leonardo and Sketty Nona, Andrew, good to see you. Would definitely like to be you. You've got a great personality. Adam, what's going on? Gachel, what's going on? Morning Driftwood, good to see you. It's been a while since I see you, but now I see you. So, guys, William Strong. Yeah, I like that name. All right, make yourselves at home, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, I want to do something to make up for what I did during this stream, obviously, with Adam. Had a great time with Adam. Don't know if you guys thought that was a good episode, thought that was jolly good fun, but I thought it was fun having Adam Ragusia on the chat. And, I want to do that video that I threw out there into the ether of edible or medicinal plants in our aquarium. And, like, I want Adam to cook a dish with it. And then I could, like, do the back info maybe on the plant and the ethnobotany of it, I suppose. But I would love to see him, like, if I sent him cuttings of all the plants that he would need, or if we both just went in and bought a couple that we didn't have them, and try them out. I've tried a few of them. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think most of them taste so hot. I think that they'd be more well known for edible foods. Otherwise, James, good to see you, man. Welcome. So yeah, I'm glad I look a little better. I think I kept the lights a little dimmer today. I could have the spotlight on, but it's smoky here. There's all these fires in Washington and Canada right now, and all the smoke has blown in just today. And it went from like 80 degrees and sunny and happy 80, 85 every day to now it's just thick, and the sun is like blotted out. It's it's a little grim, to be honest. But anyways, that video, I didn't hang out with you guys. I didn't chat with the chat that much. I was more, not gonna lie, a little starstruck and in awe still, even though we'll talk for an hour on the phone, and I'm not quite so that way. But especially having him on the channel, I'm like, oh, I hope it goes well. So it's not every day you have like a YouTuber with like 300 or 3 million followers, does 500,000 views on his average video. Pretty successful dude, and well deserved. But anyways, I had fun. I'm sorry though that I abandoned the chat and there were a few people that were like, I don't know who this other guy is, but I need help with my filter, and I felt like the biggest jerk just seeing that and watching it just scroll on by, and everyone else being like, "Shush, come back later. I'd leave a question," and like one person would chime in and try to help, and then I'd lose track of what happened. So this is one where come on in if you guys have any thoughts, questions, ideas, if you guys want to explore anything. I'm going to start exploring something if you guys don't have thoughts and questions. um like I'll just start exploring, I don't know, Baddis or something. Right now, I am. If you are a member at the 4.99 and up level, secret scholar level, or secret supporter level, you saw a video today that was the intro, the first like 4 minutes, basically, of the next video that I've been working on. I don't know why, but my brain has been very slow with editing. My brain, my body, everything. Y'all know I'm still pretty sick and having a little bit of trouble. Not giving you guys a health update today, but I will be in a solid cast again for the broken and the wound on the foot, the broken ankles and the wound. So then I won't be able to drive, and it just kind of makes life difficult all around when you can't drive, you can't shower. To get undressed is a challenge when you got this cast that doesn't let your ankle or knee bend very well. It's surprisingly limiting at first, especially when you're not used to it. You kind of get used to it, but I'm again now used to walking around with wraps and on my ankles and feet, and now I'm gonna have to go back to the darn thing. Oh no, somebody's getting a commercial. No commercials. Lame. All right, I'll have to. I haven't ever streamed this way, where I'm on the computer through YouTube's native software and set up through the webcam with the soundboard and the sound interface and all that. I've never done that, so I don't know if I sound way smoother or I look better. But like, unless you guys are noticing something better, I hate the commercial thing. So let me know. Let me know if for some reason like this is way better or way worse or whatever. But there's no difference to me in ease. I just wanted to see if there was any difference for you guys also, in that like maybe I could see whatever this new community tab crap is. I don't know anything about it. I should probably be more researched. But anyways, I felt like in the spirit, hey Joey, what is going on? Welcome. Come on in. Outside in. Aquatics, great to see you. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Madam Lacrimosa, good to see you. She says it's an tight. That if I had a mouth that could word. Hi all. It's an exciting time for me and my tanks. I just got some Neocaridina shrimp for the first time a few days ago. Doing great so far. Right on. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. Wait a minute. Did that not go to? Wait a minute. Does this do it? Did that do it for y'all? No, that pinned it in chat, didn't it? Dang it. It didn't put it on screen, did it either? Well, that's annoying, but I can share screen. This is how bad I am. We've been in StreamYard as the interface for years, or one of the various things. Oh, nice, Craig! Congrats! Just had a job interview and got the job. Right on. Now you can decide if you want the job or if you're gonna say, "Go blow one," or whatever. Um, that's awesome. I'm stoked for you. I hope it's a I hope it's a job you wanted and not one you're like, eh. Cave of Wonders, what's going on? Good to see you. Also, Emily, what's going on? Great to see you as well. So, guys, I know this background's a little bleak. I know it is, but lately, I have the green screen, and I'm afraid to admit it, you guys, but I don't know how to like make the green screen. So I might need some help from. Well, that's got a pop and pitch on it. Can I turn that down? Oh yeah, that might be. Oh wait, is this the button? I don't know which one's the button. Uh, Anyways, there's a lot of pop on that. I need a little pop filter, a little dead cat. Dead fox. I don't remember what they're called. The fuzzy thing that goes over the mic. I'm not just naming random mangled animals. I promise. Um, it says you're the number one fan, Andrew. I know. See, it's got these ratings and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this is, but I'm like, I'm gonna get on here on the way YouTube's been saying. Oh, you should hop on here, and I'm gonna click a bunch of hearts and see what happens. Do I see it on my screen? No, I don't see it on the screen here at all. Uh, okay, well, whatever. Fish Dad, what's going on? Welcome, come on in. Quantum entanglement, hello. I live in a teeny one-room apartment and I have 5 fish tanks. I just love fish so much. Am I mental? No, that is not. You don't have 5 fish tanks. You have a partial fish rack. You need to complete the rack. Like when you have a room and you've got several tanks, I mean, I don't know, maybe they're all 120s. In that case, good show. Good show. But no, I was going to say the the way to do it in a small apartment, like when I started this channel, my wife and I lived in a little town split level apartment slash townhouse, whatever you want to call it, where our bedroom, there were 2 bedrooms downstairs and then a kitchen, bathroom, and living room upstairs. And we had one community tank in the living room, one kind of in the dining room, kitchen area, like a littler one. And then our main big one was in the living room, the like 60-gallon bow front. And then downstairs, we had a guest bedroom slash a renter for many years. Like we had renters, we couldn't afford to live alone, so we got renters and or roommates, I should say. And when they went away, we got married and all that. Then I put one rack at first, and then I got hit by lightning, and that room became the like Alex mending room, like I'm cooped up all day room for a while. And I put another tank and another tank, and then my wife was like, "You fully lost it." And she's very understanding, very sweet woman. She's sitting over here, but my friend, in a small apartment, if you can find your tanks, like you've got a couple in your main area, I mean, maybe you're in a studio apartment. I don't know what you're working with here, but I think 5, I think you're totally fine. I've seen a lot of people where they have a bedroom and they've got like 255s or 75s on either side of their bed, like one here, one here, one here, one here. So they're totally a wall of them. And then they've got, the obligatory window over the bed or whatever, in like a daylight basement or something. And then at the foot of the bed, they have like a hutch or shelving where they've got like 8, 9, 12 tanks. So I think you're fine. I think you're totally fine. Unless that's your only room, then I mean, it's up to you. I guess, do you live alone or with others? I'm up to 5 aquariums and a tub in my bedroom. There's nothing wrong as long as you make it work. Hey, if you make it look good and all that kind of stuff, I like I don't see the problem. Also, if you love it, if that's what you want to do, and everyone you live with is cool with it, who cares? Live it up. It's not like you're out there on the streets, like bugging other people and interfering with their day by having fish tanks. Like MTS is real. Like you can definitely for sure get sucked in. Blasted, what's going up? What's going up? I saw what's up, and then I was thinking what's going on. But what's going up is my new. I think I like that. I think I like that a lot. Adam, what's going on? Up to 5 aquariums. There's where, yeah, nothing wrong as long as you make it work. That's the best way to sum that up. I don't know why, in StreamYard I could take the comments and drag them onto the screen, and I love that. It's not letting me do that here. Maybe there's a way to do that, and I'm just a big old dummy. But all I can do right now is like pin them to the top of the chat, which is more just obnoxious for you guys and myself, I'm assuming. So I'm not going to do that. But yeah. Craig is mentioning about fish TB, and You know, to be honest, I don't actually know anything about fish TB other than like that's some bad stuff and I don't know enough about it and it's over my head in the sense that like I'm pretty sure that even like antibiotics and stuff that we tend to use like unless you're intentionally dosing for that, and I don't know what that requires even, I don't remember, but I think it needs kind of its own whole thing, and so I should brush up on that, but I just remember in the past, I just never worried about it, because it's a problem, obviously, um, and I just didn't know how to diagnose it for sure, but it seemed like you get some fish that either have a wasting disease or TB or like a prion or some sort of terrible disease and or thing, and they just don't make it. And I kind of always threw fish TB in that category as like that fish is probably just not going to make it, and it just doesn't happen from the places where I source fish anymore for the most part. But you're right. That's something I do need to brush up on. It's just for a long time, I think we kind of had a hard time, one, diagnosing it without more gear and stuff. And then two, once you figured out that was what's on your hands, the kind of only thing to do is like quarantine, kill, which is a bummer. And then, later, now I think there are treatments and things, obviously. But yeah, it was one of those kind of like, we don't know in the aquarium hobby, and I've never caught up, and I should. You're right. That's something I should catch up with. Let's see here. Can we talk about how to tell the difference between Malawa shrimp and uh, normal shrimp or Neocaridina shrimp? Yeah. So let's see here. Let me pull up a good example for y'all. So we're gonna go to um why is that not working? Come on. Come on, I believe I'm falling in love. I believe I'm falling in love. Malawa shrimp. You know what's funny is when I look up for Malawa shrimp, like I pop up in the search quite a bit. For like videos and a lot of photos too are mine. Um for a long time in the US, I was kind of one of the only people selling them. I think Grant has them now, and so that opens the door. Garden of Eater, has a good amount. I think maybe a few other people, Papa Shrimp and stuff like that. Other websites now have them as well. But for a long time, I was the only kid on the block with them for 6 or 7 years it seemed, and man, I spread those things bad. A lot of people have the line. All right, let's see. So can we share this? How's that look for you guys? And then what are my options with sharing? Is this kind of my only option with sharing when I do this with you guys, I think? Okay, it kind of is. Let's see what happens when I like click on something. Is it going to show you guys okay, it shows you that. Does it show you guys, do you guys see the mouse at all? Or is the mouse, like I said, I've never streamed with this software before, but are you seeing the mouse? And let's also try to open a page, like visit. Is this going to share too, or is this going to be a different page? It's not, it's sharing this? Okay, it's sharing the page, not the actual, not whatever opens. Okay, good to know. Sorry guys, just making sure I understand the technology to some degree. But the main deal with Malawa shrimp um, that I use, and this isn't an across the board universal way to tell, but they have gonzo faces. If that makes any sense, let's see. Can we zoom in? Come on, zoom. Is that magnify image? Well, okay. So they have these. Oh wait, is that even sharing? No. Gosh, dang it. Anyways, so they have these eyeballs, and if you look in this picture, on the far left top corner of all my pictures on the screen, can we get that? Can we enhance? Enhance. They have like a clear membrane around their eye, and it makes it look like they have a white of their eye. You can see it better in some pictures than others, and also when they're later into the month, before they molt, you can see it, but they have a pretty clear like margin around the black dot in their eye most of the time. And then they have the short rostrum. They're considered a short-nosed shrimp. And then they also have the white banding with the dark banding. So like it's white and calcified looking, or like it almost looks like a snail, like where their shell twirls and spirals, how it kind of gets that like plaque or calcium uh like layer where you see like little scuff marks and stuff. It kind of does that on their exoskeleton. And then they have kind of a glow from the inside out, so they're not going to be opaque ever. They are always clear, like they're jelly. So that's another big giveaway, is the jelly look. Now some of it comes down to stuff like the fact that they do not have a serrated rostrum, or the top of their nose doesn't have the little saw marks that a lot of the shrimps do. Also the length of their whiskers and stuff. But like honestly, um, some of these pictures that are marked as Malawa shrimp are not correct. Like this one is a great one here. Obviously, this is completely wrong, but these, they're opaquely colored. Even if these are slightly translucent, they're opaque. This is about as like black or dark as you're gonna see on the Malawa shrimp usually. And they can get really smoky and like gray, but you shine a light through them, they're always going to turn back to a clear color, and you can always see all the little segmented ridges. The other little hint that I look for is that usually, I mean, one, they're pregnant a lot. So you're usually going to see, if you've got a few females, you're going to see some pregnant females. Also, you're going to see brown, yellow, or some contrasting color, earth tone wise, in the head and stomach. So the stomach runs down the length, and then they've got they go to the bathroom. But up by the head here, like behind the eyes in this picture, this shrimp has actually kind of a blue glow to it. And then it's got some other markings, but up by the head, oftentimes you can see kind of whatever organs, again, that's true with a lot of shrimp. This, I'm guessing, is not a true Malawa shrimp. I'm guessing this is a snowball palmata d.i.y shrimp there. But I can see this, that's going to be a true Malawa shrimp. Again, that line of poo, but the line that goes down their body, they eat everything. They're generalists. So they're going to have algae, they're going to have detritus, they're going to have like all that. And yes, other shrimps are generalists too, but even more so. Like Malawas eat just about anything. They're great cleaners. They eat a lot hardier algae and things than other shrimp out there. And when you look at them by name, over in Germany and stuff, you can find the Paraparapensis caridini, or Paracaridini parparapensis, which gets so annoying. And then sometimes they even have multidentata attached to that name, depending on if it's the species from the lakes or the streams in Sulawesi, and if it's the U.S. or other places. But yeah, the ultimate thing is to just, you got to kind of keep them, like the offspring said, you got to keep them separated, or you don't know which is which. You're not gonna know which ones are which, but they won't be able to get each other pregnant. They won't be able to hybridize whatsoever, because the one's caridina, one's neocaridina. But I hope some of that info helps a little bit. Maybe spend some time where you can really look up close. Like go on your own browser, pull up some blown up pictures. Trust places like I mean, somewhere like Chris Lukoff. If you see the Shrimp King and he's got something on Garnerley, Dennerley, any of like the ADA sites, or someone selling them. Oftentimes, if they've got a good series of photo albums with stuff, and you can like really look like Aquatic Arts. I don't think they have any Malawas right now. I know they've sold them at other times though, because I've sent them out. But that's been a while, so yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of waffled on a long time there. Let's move on. I'm sorry. But I hope that helps somewhat. Also, Gachel says, Alex, I'm proud of myself. I have 9 samurai garamis from Aquahuna. I've had them for almost 2 weeks. They're doing good. Only took me 3 tries. First 2 groups did not come from Aquahuna. Oh, nice. Well, I'm glad to hear that your samurai's garamis are doing good. I'm glad to hear that they have some good ones, because I have a friend who's an employee there, and I don't ever really shop at Aquahuna, one, because it's in state and technically I'm not supposed to, it's wholesale. But I mean, when you have a friend who works there, there's ways. But I just don't tend to go there either, because they kind of supply a lot of the shops around here, and there's kind of some known like fish that I would buy from them frequently, kind of their changing cast. But I don't really love their standard cast of bread and butter fish, of like their tiger barbs or their zebra danio, stuff like that. That's like real common, easy to find fish. A lot of that stuff ends up getting sick, and I think it's more just because they're a place that goes wholesale for all of Western Washington, Northern Oregon as well, maybe even parts of British Columbia, and then Eastern Washington too. And so they're the like wholesale supplier to like places like Aquarium Co-op. And then there's the Wet Spot out of Portland that also sells like Level Up and much rarer, more unique, far flung fish, and way bigger selection size. So between the two, I kind of tend to go with the Wet Spot. But I mean, more and more, I've been hearing good things about the stock at Aquahuna, and so it's been causing me to kind of do a second take, because I think they were also having some maybe growing pains with expanding and doing the direct to retail customer side of things, versus like they just did like wholesale to other fish stores, and the fish store would take on the responsibility of culling and doing that, and that kept the price extremely low. When they just bring in the fish, they change the water, pull out anything that didn't make it, take out anything that's really, really bad off sick wise, and then they just sell it in lots, 40 of them, 100 of them, 200 of them, 500 of them, to the local pet stores and like PetSmarts and stuff like that. Even like they also would get stuff in from Seagrass or, big places like that. And I think that then I don't know what they're doing now. I think they're mostly doing their own importing. And so I don't know how that's changed the quality for better or for worse in whichever ways. The genetics overseas tend to be worse in general, for a lot of fish, like more inbred, more problematic. But at the same time, there's certain things that are just done so much better overseas, like guppies or bettas, stuff like that. Like it's a no-brainer that you're gonna import those over buying the ones out of Florida or raised in captivity in the US for wholesale. Anyways, but yeah, I'll have to check that out again, because I love samurai garamis. I don't have any right now. I never got my samurais to spawn, and I know 3 people now, like in my daily fish world life, that have gotten them to. And man, um, I wanna try spawning those again. Hey Jeff, what's going on? Oh, you can see the cursor, Aquabotany. I'm sorry, I'm still reading, guys. Also, what's going on? Gina's Reef, what's going on? Good to see y'all. Come on in, everybody. Make yourselves at home. Um, let's see. Jeff Kane. Everybody's so happy to see Jeff and Nancy B and JP. I am too. Hi guys. Got 1 tank clean to do today. Charge them 80 a tank. That's fair, do you think? Hey, you charge people who whatever you can, bro. Yeah, Asha, good to see you as well. Hello, everybody. Everybody in the fish getting drippy. Jerry Borsato. Hello. The best way to get rid of blackbeard algae is to never start in the first place. You hear me? I know it's tempting. I know it looks fun when you're young and when your tanks are new and you don't have anything much going on and you think, "Oh, what's the harm? I'll just play with Blackbeard on Friday nights. That's it." Then it happens to be Friday and Saturday, and then maybe Sunday in the day too. And then pretty soon all week long you got Blackbeard on the mind. You got Blackbeard on the glass. You got Blackbeard on your carpet. No, it's an algae that, from what we know, tends to like flow, tends to like oxygenation, likes light, like any algae. And, honestly, with algae, I'm changing my advice. I have lots of videos out there, you guys. But hear ye, I'm changing my advice that I give on algae. Dr. Tom Barr and Stephen P. 2003 Aquatics. Stephen has kind of changed my mind when I watched this older talk they did, but like a year ago. But I really agreed with a lot of what they said, which is like we know things that tend to cause algae. We know that when you have light and an abundance of nutrients and those things together, yes, algae often becomes present. If you have plants that are somewhat hungry and lots of nutrients and lots of light, suddenly algae's not really a problem as long as those plants are able to keep up with keeping the ambient level of nutrients right kind of in the sweet spot of a little bit depleted from what ideal is, and yet you're still dosing it however often it needs to be so that you're not crashing, dosing, crashing, dosing, crashing, and in some tanks that can run never dosing and just the ambient food, fish waste and food and light and everything's all dialed in and you're fine. But the other thing with Blackbeard is it likes to be the only surface algae. And when I say surface algae, we've got Claudophora, which is an annoying algae, also really tough one, and powdered algae. And those ones are going to be able to live right alongside Blackbeard. But like the green, hairy kind, that's like it's like gummy almost, and like it looks like a matted like wad of gross hair, right? When you pull it out of like your tank and you rip it off the plants, it's like very fibrous. There's that kind, and then there's also the green kind that's light and flowy, and it starts short, but it gets long enough that it looks like actual hair or fur on an animal. Those are two different kinds. The kind that you could spin around a fork and remove out of your tank, that's one of the easier kinds to deal with, and that's one of probably is the most common algae across all aquarists that I talk to. Luckily, that's easiest to deal with first because it's one of the first ones I think that comes in the gut of like every fish or on the spores on everybody's outfits, and it's just everywhere. It's all over the temperate zones, the tropical zones. Spores of it are just like ubiquitous. They're floating around your room probably from some leaf or from a puddle or whatever that dried up and blew around last Thursday. Or is in your tap water potentially sneaking by as a spore. But with the black beard algae, I can no longer say what like I can tell you if you target it, the easiest way to target it is with a razor blade and a siphon right next to it if you want to do this. So, and you can go along and scrape it and remove it from any hardscape glass, that kind of stuff, and have the filter or siphon or vacuum ready to go so that it doesn't go all over your tank and potentially reseed. It's the same with like powdered algae or dust algae, as they call it. You want to have suction or some sort of flow able to take that in, and you can turn off your filter while you do this. And then literally just be right as you're cutting it or scraping it with a razor blade or one of those handled razor blades or whatever, or a magic eraser can even get rid of early stages of it. you can wipe it off and then just be trying to suck away any cloudiness in the water or any bits that are coming off, because otherwise, like I said, those pieces will fragment and reproduce through fragmentary sporulation or fragmentary vegetation. Uh, Algae is tricky, and the thing that I've changed my mind on with algae as a whole is that algae, I used to say, like, you've got too much light and too much certain nutrient that your plants aren't utilizing, and so your algae has filled the void, and that's what's going on. Well, now I definitely think that CO2 is a major component. Dr. Tom Barr has made it very, very clear with his research over 40, well, 30 years, let's call it, doing scientific style research. I mean, he was writing on Planted Tank Forum, that's his, uh, back in like '04, '05 when I was on there. And in '05, he was getting his PhD in plant. So he got it in like botany and like plant physiology, literally like how plants work biologically and anatomically and like internally, which is pretty cool and makes him one of the most well educated aquarists about plants and algae and stuff. But basically, he was just saying that, he's seen, there's this study where they went around Florida and they looked at ponds with tons of runoff, and all within natural ranges was this particular thing they looked at. So it wasn't agricultural levels of literally more nitrogen, like nitrogen to the point where it's poisoning things, right? This was more like 1 part per million nitrogen or 2 parts per million nitrogen. Um, like on your test kit, it would be like, up to like 20 parts per million or 40 parts per million of the nitrates, and maybe 1 or 2 parts of the nitrites, and maybe like zero point 0.5 of ammonia. Like that's as high as they kind of were looking. But they went to whitewater rivers, they went to muddy rivers, they went to places with plant diversity, like the Blue Springs there that you've seen beautiful footage of underwater. Like literally looks like a garden in a crystal blue spring. It's incredible looking, right? And they've found that no matter where they went there's no traceable, trackable relation between the algae and the nutrients and the sun exposure. All that stuff, like there had to be some sun exposure, obviously, for algae. In a complete forest canopied area or covered area, there's not going to be that. But other than that, there's balances that work out where the water has almost nothing in it, and yet there's still a bunch of algae. The thing that they did find in the whole study was that where plants are, algae is not. So the more plants that are there, the less algae was there. So the more diversity of plants and the density of plants. And that's really interesting because it also alludes to the fact that plants are probably doing a lot of chemical warfare as well as also just taking up the nutrients and things, but they're likely doing something to inhibit the growth of algae. Algae is also very tricky. It has evolved a long time. It is what literally gave us oxygen on Earth. It is why we breathe oxygen, is because of millions, almost 1 billion years of plankton and algae in the oceans before more complex life turned the world into a super saturated oxygen show. And then actually we had to dial that down with CO2 and nitrogen and other stuff in the atmosphere as time went on. But that is something going way off track. That's like what makes giant bugs and things possible back 300 million years ago or 200 million years ago. And later, it even it would even kind of change life on Earth the other way, like so that you're never going to see a 6 foot long dragonfly or potato bug again, because they have to breathe through tubules, not lungs. Lungs evolved to deal with the ability of breathing out of water, because gills can handle they can pull quite a bit of oxygen out and stuff, but lungs can't pull you know, they're more specialized. They're better. They can pull, I should say, at pulling that out, which is really interesting. I need to get something just to wet my whistle real quick, guys. And also, I've abandoned my fans. Somebody did a super chat and I missed it. And let me see if I can pull that up. I think I can. I think I can. Yeah, it was Hansel uh Caraballo, and I don't see any message or anything, and I hope he's still here. But Hansel, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate that. Just a little Shiba Emu. I'm calling him that from now on. Shiba Emu. Just a little dog bird, and just a little 9 foot tall dog bird. And thank you. I appreciate that, though. That's very kind of you. Hey, what's going on, Kenny? Welcome to the show. Hope you're doing well. Also, George, what up? Good to see you. Kalish, hello. I don't know if I should put the work into keeping up. That's why I asked. Oh, what did I miss? I'm sorry. Did you say something to me and I did a big nothing? Beto Great Lakes says, Alex, I have mountains of algae that I remove from tanks. Is there a way to turn it into nutrition for fish or shrimp food? Yeah, I mean, algae, depending on the kind, you can dry it out thoroughly and press it into pellets. Honestly, your fish are probably eating your algae. Like right now, I have a tank that's just absolutely, you guys have seen the one with the rainbow fish and my apistos that just has sand as a base and no plants really growing in it and gobies and stuff. Even though I do water changes in there all the time, the algae's insane in there. It's thick with algae. Like I need to figure something out, like reset it basically. But that tank, I've now noticed that every fish has these green squiggly poos if I don't feed them for a day or two. So even fish that normally there's never even a word about them eating plants or algae, nibble on that algae. I mean, algae, when you dry it out, tends to be sweet. It tends to have an umami flavor like seaweed, and it tends to have protein and some nutrients and stuff. So I mean, there a lot of things like live bears, especially, we do know, eat like a third to 50% of their diet is usually like algae. So if you want to like put that together and smush it into a little wafer or cake, and then maybe blend up some garlic or um maybe some krill, or you've got Daphnia, or you want to grow some brine shrimp, just, a few days worth. And then all of a sudden you strain them out, dry them out. You got this red, dusty stuff or orange, dusty stuff. You can make your own fish food. You probably want to spice it up a little bit. We want to put something that's a little more appealing to the fish. Otherwise, you might get mostly like snails, plecos, shrimp. Shrimp may just eat it though, like especially if the shrimp don't have other really tasty foods. Now, that being said, you give them that pellet, and then you have some Hikari wafer that has the equivalent of fish MSG in it. All the things they know fish love, all the research things they've tried. A branded, whatever, whether it's Aquarium Co-op or Hikari or anything, compared to nature, we make pretty good food for fish. There's a reason why, like power bait, as gross smelling as it is, and they've got freaking glitter in it and American flag colors and all this. Man, it smells so bad. It makes your fingers stink for days. But yeah, fish like it, right? Fish also like worms and eggs too. But you can bet that, like, if they get a choice and they're lazy, they're used to it, they're gonna go for the like fast food choice. They're gonna go for the like design for them choice. Um, but yes, you can do things with it depending on the kind of algae, and you kind of just have to experiment and see. You just don't want to use cyanobacteria unless you know the species, because cyanobacteria can be toxic. Often it has cyanotoxins in it. Obviously, that's an that name explains it all, right? Cyanotoxins. They're from cyanobacteria. They're not good. They cause like twitching, nerve damage, then death, memory loss, loss of motor skills, stuff like that. Not good. But spirulina is also a cyanobacteria. So if you know what you're working with really well, or if you can ID things with a microscope or whatnot, sure, there are cyanobacteria that are lovely for fish and that fish will choose to eat. Or if you see that fish are eating it in your tank and you're like, man, they're really going to town on that. Sure, you could probably use that. But yeah, Joey, question. I have seen tanks where they have the whole bottom covered with plant that looks like short green lawns. I want to know, how do they clean their tank? That's a great question, Joey. I wish I could put your question on the screen so people could read it while we chat about that for a sec. Let me get something to wet my whistle because I like that question, and I have like a little tiny bit of yesterday's. Oh man, and it's like 80 degrees. Hold on. People say I'm crazy. Washing my life away. And I tell them there's no worry. And there's no use in trying. Well, I tell them that I'm doing fine, watching shadows on the wall. Surely you're not happy now, you're no longer on the ball. Dun, dun, dun. I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. You know, I love to watch them roll. No longer riding on the merry-go-round. I just had to let it go. Anyways, yeah, so that question about how do people grow what looks like a grass lawn at the bottom of their tank. Almost always CO2 is involved, not necessarily always. The other thing you can do, there are a number of aquatic plants that are boom and busters, and people will sell them, chia seeds being one of them actually, that you can grow underwater for 3 to 6 months. They'll sprout underwater, they'll grow underwater. They're used to that in their climate, wherever they live in the tropics or subtropics. They wait for the rain, they sprout, they grow, and then it turns to like dry, barren, muddy rocks, right? Afterwards, like, or fields that are barren of prairies and things. Like the savannah turns into a desert again. Well, when they first are growing, they'll grow underwater, they'll grow above water, they'll grow half in water, and they will grow dense as dense can be. They can live on low nutrients. Those people will sell you those seeds in kits a lot online. And you can put those seeds in a dry start tank, start watering the substrate for 2-3 weeks with saran wrap over it, just keeping it at room temp or a little above, and that will start to sprout. Then you can flood it and you've got this beautiful tank. The problem is 1 to maybe as long, if you're lucky, as 5 or 6 months, they all die and the roots start rotting first, and then it catches up with the rest of the plant when it can no longer feed the rest of the plant, kind of in a weird like rotting from the bottom issue thing. And so it fouls up. I mean, well, it actually brings ammonia and nutrients, but carbon and organic waste and stuff into your tank, which then causes this runaway chain reaction. Because what I was going to say is, with blackbeard algae, with any algae that you can put your hand on and pick or pull apart or feel like textured, it's substantial as that. It's not just floating freely, and it's not just like a surface texture. Anything that is a nest or a little wad or whatever, anything that has some mass to it, you can take hydrogen peroxide in a little syringe. You can break off the needle, or you can actually leave the needle. Let's see if I've got one of mine around here. You can just get like a diabetic one. If most states, it's fine. Or you can use like a little turkey baster or a pipette if you need to. But I use an actual syringe so I can just specifically get it right in there. And you can just put that straight. Well, it's like 3% or 8% hydrogen peroxide, whatever you get at the pharmacy or the chemist. You put that in, and even underwater, it's an incredible way to treat algae because it will kill algae and cyanobacteria. It will turn it this yellow or orange color within a day or two max. Sometimes it's almost immediate, like within 30 minutes, you'll start to see it turn that color. And it'll turn that color of, like, if you've ever seen someone with dark hair who tries to bleach it, but they didn't do it long enough, and it's kind of that nasty yellow orange kind of color, that neon orangey blonde yellow. If you know what I'm talking about. That's kind of the color, almost like a bronzy color, or an ambery color mixed with like mustard and white. Um, that kind of vibe is what happens to dead cells of algae. And so you'll see if your spot treatment worked. Now, on top of that, if there's a nest, if there's this long of black beard algae, you're probably better off just getting a siphon and a little razor blade, or a razor blade on something, and just carefully going down it and using your siphon. Or better yet, if you can move it, if it's not the actual glass in the tank, you can always drain down the sides of the tank too, scrape and put something like a paper towel, even that floats, so that when you're done, you can just lift it up and not like put all the little spores and particles of the algae back into your tank. But when you shave that, when you cut that down like that, um, you can get at it and kill it a lot easier than maybe other ways. But you can also take a spray bottle or a mister, or just squirt it. Or, I mean, if you have to, you could just take your thumb and cover most of the hole and go splash, splash, splash with the bottle. But you can actually cause, just by putting it on the surface, or by having a spray bottle with it, misting it's the absolute best. You can kill that whole surface. And like by a day or two after hitting it with hydrogen peroxide and just letting it sit there, because hydrogen peroxide is magical. Just in case you don't know the chemistry of it, it's hydrogen and oxygen, and that's it. And per just means two, basically. It's hydrogen dioxide is what it is, right? So it's going to turn into hydrogen that's in our atmosphere and floats around as a gas everywhere, right? Or that hydrogen will bond with oxygen in the atmosphere and turn into water, or CO2, or some other particulate. They bond very easily. The hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, all those things. The first few elements bond really easily. Well, hydrogen peroxide either just turns back into water, or hydrogen gas, or oxygen gas. And most of those things can't even stay an element for long, so they bond into something else, like turn back into water. So it's only hydrogen peroxide in your aquarium and in the little baster or in the little syringe for a few moments. And after 15, 20, 30 seconds, depending on how much you start with, it takes a while to dilute and how much the water's moving. But if you have still water and you do that on the plant that has that, you should see, a spot yay big that just dies and turns orange in kind of a radius that's from wherever you did the little spots of it. And as long as you don't do it too fast, it literally turns into water. So it's safe to clean your tank. It's safe to be around your tank. And that's the thing I like most about that piece of the puzzle. But back to the, how do you have an immaculate green carpet in your tank of plants that are long-term sustainable and stuff? It requires a lot of cutting. It requires having usually aqua soil. Now, I'm not going to say that's 100% needed. There are things you can do, like some of the repens, some of the val and micro swords, and stargrass and stuff like that. You can kind of cut over and over, and if you have low to medium light, you can grow it, and it kind of reaches for the light. And if you just keep cutting it over and over and over, but leave like one node of actual tissue that can photosynthesize and regrow, sometimes you can get a pretty short kind of bonsai version of that that's somewhere between an inch and like 3 inches tall. So that's one thing, if you're looking at big tanks, that people will do. It's a little less effort. The next level of effort is going to be things like your hair grass, or your dwarf miniature hair grass. I know that sounds super redundant, but there's a dwarf hair grass, there's a miniature hair grass, and there's dwarf miniature hair grass. They all get progressively smaller. There's also a baby tears and a dwarf baby tears. But Monte Carlo, Glossostigma elentoides, Some of the hydrocaudal, like trailing vining, like pennywort and moneywort and stuff like that, you can kind of train back and forth. But again, it's going to vine. So really what's best are those plants that grow by whatever's next to them. Some people will even do this with crypts if they have a year to 2 or 3 years. But if you want that yard look, you're really going to go with either Glosso, usually Glosso, you'll find it, Glossostigma elentoides. You'll find that also Monte Carlo is a good choice. It kind of spreads out and grows like little clovers, kind of, or dwarf hairgrass. Those are the go-tos. Those are the goats. Baby tears are kind of, in my opinion, the toughest level, and you really do need CO2, and you need a fair amount of light. Now, with all these things, you can also choose, instead of doing the lower light model, you can just blast light onto them with or without CO2. The CO2 is sure going to help, and it's also going to reduce algae, but you can blast them with light, and then they don't reach for the light as much. Actually, they grow more squat, more dense, and more bright, or like densely pigmented. So they use the surface area and chlorophyll and color space that they have very effectively when they have higher light. And with the CO2, the same is true. The density, the stems get thicker, things like that. It's pretty cool. Hey, thank you so very much, Paulo. Thank you, my friend. That is very nice of you to give memberships away. All these people now are going to get a sneak peek at our next video, which you might be able to see the name of the video even if you're not a member. Oh, yeah, that's a great call too, Asya. I'd say in that number 2 to maybe number 3, so kind of the easy to moderate. Pearlweed is another one. If you trim constantly, you can kind of get a little carpet growing. It looks nice. Definitely, that's a good point. I mean, there are a lot of options out there that are gonna be possibilities. So thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, the trick is trimming it, keeping the light strong, not letting the algae and stuff get out of control. Like you're cutting away that algae before it has time to even host, really. And I see that Hydrocooled Carrot also chimed in with that suggestion, so I appreciate both y'all for that. Let's see here. I wanted to get them. I guess I don't get them. Let's see. Let me read what's going on here. Cold water aquatics keeps grass pickerel, sunfish, rainbow shiners, and North American and other North American fish. Don't keep the rainbow shiners with the sunfish or the pickerel. Yeah, definitely. Or like any sort of little fish. North American fish are freaking mean. I don't know of any peaceful, nice, kind, even our sucker fish are mean for the most part. Like our things like our northern pike's head minnow, super mean. They're gonna eat any little fish like that, and they get big. Like North America, our darters are pretty chill. I mean, they'll still eat your fry and stuff, but they're darters are pretty chill. Shiners can be chill, but again, they're gonna eat any of your fry, any of your shrimp that's mouth size. But anything that doesn't fit in their mouth is not food, which that's nice. Daces for the most part, they kind of same thing where like if it doesn't fit in their mouth, that they're not going to bug it. But yeah, North America as a whole is a much tougher crowd of fish, and the food pyramid gets big quickly, if that makes sense. Like the predators become bigger apex predators a lot quicker than some of the micro ecosystems you see in tropical regions and stuff. And Florida has a few exceptions, like where you see some of the live bears, like the least killifish and some other like killifish, like marsh darters, swamp darters, bluefin killie, and that'll mix with like something like a platyfish and even a elosoma of some sort, Okefenokee sunfish or Gulf pygmy sunfish, stuff like that. So those are, I mean, that's all possible stuff from America in theory. But even like your mini, like your dwarf and sunfish and spotted and striped sunfish, they're mean. The little tiny ones are pretty darn mean. Um, so just thought I'd throw that warning out. But Paulo, if thank you, and I see we've got King Nino. Thank you and welcome. I'm glad you got a gift. Joey, I'm glad you're in as a member. Elf Fish Tanks, glad you're in, and Waifu Body Pillow, hello, glad you're here. Dragon Lair, good to see you as well. Glad to have you back on board in the member crowd. But I did put up an intro to the next video I'm making, which I had planned on having done, I'm not going to lie, like 5 days ago. And I just kept finding interesting papers to read about it. And I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't finish it yet. And so I had kind of put together some sections. So I've got like that. I've got the first 4 or 5 minutes done basically. Then I've got like all the footage I could ever need of the fish. I've got all the footage of Myanmar I could need of like everything from conflict zones to the politics to the mining sites. I got like cleared footage that shouldn't have any copyright issues with like how they're kicking up gold drainage or using mercury and lead and putting it into Lake Inlay and the drainage around there. So it also touches on celestial pearl danios, emerald dwarf rasboras, rummy nose rasboras, hillstream loaches, butterfly hillstream loaches, like Sawilia, lineola or lineola, whatever, the butterfly hillstream loaches, the Vietnamese ones, which also occur into Thailand and Myanmar and India. And so there's really a lot of fish, so many danios too, tinwinny danios, inlay danios, all the different cool loaches. They're all there, and then if you go up into China, you've got like the panda loaches and the thinnicties, or like all the white cloud minnows, meteor minnows, stuff like that, and Kubota rasboras, all those sort of things. And we're going to be talking about the peach or mango, as it got officially named, colored, uh, which everyone calls the rosy loach, which I never got that name exactly because it's more of a mix between kind of like I don't know if you guys can see, kind of like this orangey yellow combo thing. It's kind of like that. Like a mix between those, like a peach but bright electric lit up. I don't know, kind of like this bag. And they're so beautiful, but they can get almost a, like, not quite this dark of a red, but like an actual ruby red. They can get like that red, orangey red, and when they're ready to spawn. And they breed in captivity. They're an inch long. They didn't have a Latin name, but they've been in the hobby for 10 years easily, maybe as long as the CPD, Celestial Pearl Dania. And I mean, for that matter, we didn't have the right Latin name for CPDs or for Emerald Dwarf Rasboras, not a Rasbora, not even a Rasbora, as it turns out, really. Um, so kind of weird. But anyways, the area of Myanmar is so promising for more fish. The Irrawaddy Delta up through Bangladesh into India, up into all the way up into Nepal. Right now, China is about to build 9 new massive dams on drainage that goes into the Irrawaddy. But then more so, we're talking drainage that goes into the Mekong and the Mekong River. And those two rivers are huge in volume. They feed something like 50 million people, I think is what it said, like directly rely on it for food for their agriculture and stuff. And another 200 million are in the influence or like, somewhat rely on it. And they are planning on putting in these massive new dams. And so when they do that, none of the nutrients, none of the sediment, none of the minerality or the pH and things that has been coming downstream for literally about 6 million years, geologically speaking, somewhere in there. I mean, there's never been glaciers that low or anything either. So it's been that long that the world has kind of been evolving in those mountainous regions, the foothills of Tibet and stuff. And yes, it's been rising. There's been volcanoes. There's been expansions of ice fields, shrinking of that as the world's done things and climate changes and yada yada. But it's always kind of been this subtropic and tropic zone, and then goes straight into kind of so high up alpine and cold up Everest and all of those high mountains when you get onto the Tibetan plateau. But that whole lead up into it is like 1,000 miles long. People don't realize it. And there's just mountain after mountain after mountain. And in between every single one of those big mountain ridges, I guarantee you there is a creek or a river or something, right? And especially they have the monsoon season there, and it depends on this massive flood of water washing all the minerals, the plants, the vegetation, the dead like creatures, the plants that are falling on the ground and rotting, the fruit, from the last season, whatever it may be. The boom and bust cycle of the rainforest, of the monsoon season in Southeast Asia, is like the life of Southeast Asia. And so when that is interrupted, when that is disturbed, and if you put a dam in the way, they literally are trying to figure out how they're going to use liquefaction pumps. So pumps that keep the sediment at the base, the foot of the dam and across the reservoirs, because they're going to have to build these giant lakes, right? That are going to flood whole areas that could be all sorts of fish we've never seen before. And they're going to be then making these massive churning vortexes at the base of the dams, so that they can, and at the inflow of the reservoirs, the other end too, so that they can try to collect the sediment and put it into dump trucks and maybe some sort of pipeline they've discussed. But this is all kind of new. And it's China. They'll probably like underbid the job and screw it up. It'll work for like 2 years, look incredible, and then it'll fall apart. Just appraising how they've done a lot of other stuff. Now, they can do some incredible construction and incredible things, and they could do a good job. I just don't know if they will when they're doing it for other countries, right? They want it to look good. They want to sell the project. Then they sign a thing saying, oh, can we have your access to trade, access to mineral rights? Can workers work in our factories for half of your minimum wage? Whatever it may be, they do these trades. The Belt and Road initiatives that they did all over Africa. Well, they're doing that in Southeast Asia as well, and they have been. Places like Borneo, places like Indonesia, Malaysia, obviously huge Chinese influence, but also Myanmar. Myanmar has just been so unstable for so long that nobody's really been able to influence it too much, whether that's Russia, whether that's China, whether that's the US, whether that's Cambodia next door even. Nobody's been able to really like wrangle it, and there's still like a bunch of people vying for control. And that's why I think this is an interesting story, because it's like Colombia in South America. There's been this ongoing war. There's been a narco state run there where they grew poppies. It used to be known as the Emerald Triangle. Now they make go fast, if you know what I'm talking about. And not the plant stuff, the synthetic stuff. They busted like something insane. I think it was, I don't want to get this wrong, but I don't want to repeat it wrong also, but massive speed bust, Myanmar. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. Check this out, guys. You may not think this has to do with fish, but it do. They found a warehouse with these barrels. The biggest bust in history is what it ended up being. And it was going mostly into China. Yeah, okay, so I can't share this. But I think you might have seen that number, or I didn't share it. Never mind, didn't share the screen anyways. But 200 million, 200 million of the precursor gallons. And it looks like a few billion doses were made in Myanmar. So that's no joke. They're still doing the poppy thing, but they've changed gears, and China's all too happy to have its workers using the productivity kind of stuff and not the like lay down and take a nap kind of stuff. Oh, did it? It might have blank screened out stuff. Sorry, guys. It's probably because of yeah uh, the yeah. Oh, America acts the same worldwide. Anti-K. I agree. America goes into so many countries. We ruined so many countries in South America. Said, promised them the world. Promised them, oh, we're going to help you do this. I mean, look at Afghanistan in the 70s and 80s. Oh, we're going to help you fight Russia. Oh, and actually, we're kind of over it. Eh. Here's a bunch of stuff. Have fun. And then, oh, they used it on us. You guys know the story. I'm not going to get into all the politics of it, but I'm just particularly talking about Myanmar today. And it's an interesting story because it's also an area where we get so many beautiful, unique, and interesting little fish. Little fish that are all under 3 inches, yet some look like miniature stingrays, and some look like catfish, and some are clear, and some are neon colored, and some are multicolored. Some look like little trout that we've seen all over, northern latitudes. Others look like something out of salt water. And so the kind of fish we get in Southeast Asia and, the heart of the Amazon and a few spots in Africa, or the Rift Lakes, definitely are just top notch. And yes, oh yeah. So what probably happened to your screen, everybody? Wait, can you see me now? Are you guys still seeing a black screen, or did it just go blank for a little bit? Because I'm pretty sure it went blank because I tried to show something off a website that YouTube won't allow, CNN or Fox News. Whenever I tried to click on the photos that they had, it was like cannot share, cannot share, cannot, and then like they must have some agreement because other stuff doesn't do that. It usually will blank it out if it like detects it later. I'm lucky it didn't just shut down the stream. That's what it usually will do to you if you share like NFL or anything like that. But luckily, we were only talking junk on China and and the tribes in Myanmar. But at the same time, so you've got these Chinese factions in northern Myanmar, in the Thai border region, Laos, and then northern India and that weird little Irrawaddy breakoff region. If you look at a map of India, there's a very odd little section in the far, far east that goes up and it follows the Irrawaddy River. And there's incredible fish up there. And we're just now kind of exploring it. Yeah. Really interesting. But yeah. So, anyhow, that will be talked about in the upcoming video. That's mostly edited. I have all the pictures. I have even the outline done, and most of the audio. I just need to put like it into the app and arrange it how I want it. And I was trying to decide, and that's why I let all y'all $5 and up members, $4.99 and up members have a crack at it. I was gonna open it to all $1.99 members, but honestly, I count on some of y'all to watch it to be the first wave of people when I release it, in the next day or two. And I think y'all are my A team, and I don't want you to be like, oh, I already kind of got the gist of it. I'm not going to watch that. Whereas you might really be interested in it if, and then not click it if you've already felt like you already saw the first round. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm just being a cuckoo bird. But in any case, I don't want to make it a video with too much, obviously, like politics and history and background, but that is part of this channel. And so when it has an impact on like, why were all these fish discovered in 2006? Well, it's because the military junta let in the Western world for the first time. Then all of a sudden they clamped down and killed a bunch of students and a bunch of other people, and all of a sudden all the tribes remilitarized, and China essentially took over the north, became a narco empire, and it's really hard for scientists to go there. Yes, there are Southeast Asian scientists that go there, and yes, there are tourists that go to Lake Inle now, and off and on there's access to these places. But now those places have literally broken away and gotten a legal level of autonomy. The north has so much money in gold, rubies, sapphires, like mineral rights and things, compared to how poor that country is as a whole, that they just broke away. Essentially, they started their own money. They're using like digital and like cryptocurrencies and stuff, and they have their own system that's very heavily influenced by the Chinese kind of hyper capitalism on central planning uh, hybrid thing. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, did I say freedom and Winnie the Pooh in the same sentence? Yeah, perhaps. I know. Anyways, it happens anywhere there's a lot of money. You're going to get the haves and have-nots. And also, we see it in Africa. We see it in South America. The gold mines. Geez, the gold mines. Gold mines in Nigeria. We see oil. Mexico. We see oil pipelines being. People literally will drill into it, spraying it everywhere, covering themselves in crude oil to literally take plastic buckets of it and load up the back of their pickup truck to go cook it on a fire that could catch on fire and kill them. Not to mention the carcinogenic chemicals they've coated themselves in and the fumes they're breathing by boiling oil, crude oil, or just below boiling. And then they sell off it as petrol or gasoline or kerosene or whatever the different layers are. They distill and they refine it on their own. These trafficking groups, they do that in Myanmar or in Malaysia and in parts of the Philippines. They've done that before too. It's absolutely bonkers. And so anywhere you get these mineral rights and these very impoverished places right next to each other or one in the same place, you're going to get those who come in, those who exploit the people and take advantage of the lax laws or the ability to buy the law, to buy the ability to do whatever you want. And a lot of times that's funded by American, Canadian, European, Chinese, whoever's got the money to buy companies and people and investors. And Myanmar is no different. And in fact, it is kind of the leading example. And that's why I want to kind of show a little bit more than 30 seconds of like, yeah, it's kind of unstable there. That's why we don't get a lot of fish out of there. And describe like why we've gotten these waves of like literally hundreds of incredible species of fish from '06 to '08. Then not a word till 2011. And then a few things kind of came out from three scientists, and then literally we don't hear anything else until 2017 or 18, and then 2021 it closes off completely again, other than people that live there. So I mean, there's reasons why, and also they may be going to Thailand, but really they're entering the Shan state and they're exploring. So sometimes things don't even get labeled correctly, like fish wise. They still on the official website. Go look on websites right now. Go look up the rosy loach, which is now called the mango loach, or physoschisto mango, which I love that its actual species name is mango. And by the way, a mango's Latin name is not mango. So it's not the Latin name for mango. It is the English or anglicized and Europeanized mango word, which is just, I don't know, makes it even cuter than like mangoia, or I forget what the actual mango Latin is, but it's not as succinct. I wish I could get the banana plant to grow food, but I think the water is hard to pH. Okay. Um. Anyways, Guys, it looks like maybe I've slowed you down in the chat. Oh, I'm in top chat too, though. Let's get to live chat and make sure I didn't miss anything. Looks like Pam just gets in the door, is like out of breath, hangs up her coat. She's like, guys, I'm here. I brought sponge cake, bunt cake. Hey Pam, thank you for joining us. I was about to be like, I need to get out of here. I probably pissed everyone off. It's like, yeah, there's 50 of us in here, and I just spent the last like 10 minutes being like, oh, let's talk about how Western and rich countries are ruining poor places. But no, the poor places are doing it to themselves also. I mean, they're selling themselves out as well. So it's a people thing. It's not a specific nation or anything. What's the common denominator? Maybe it's money and greed. Maybe it's people can be jerks, and not any one nation or style of government or anything like that necessarily. It happens in all the systems. But no matter whose side you're on or what you believe, the fish are still the ones who are dying right now. And the fish are still the ones that are right now in the face of logging, deforestation, food needing to be planted when there's already enough food for everyone in the world. And right now, for instance, we have $50 billion in aid that's not going out, and $20 billion retail value in food stocks from the EU, the US, the Western world right now. That's just not going to get distributed right now. It's just going to get burned or whatever, so that it doesn't impact the market value, because that would flood the market, right? So it's just a bummer that, like, I get why we do things that we do, but they're going to clear cut a forest in Southeast Asia. A kid is going to have to not live sustainably on his little farm. They're going to have to move to a village. There's some other kid that's getting sick from the smoke that blows into their rural or even suburban or urban little squat, where the chemicals and things that aren't controlled are poisoning the area, poisoning the water, poisoning the fish they eat. And right now in Myanmar, they're having huge problems with lead poisoning in kids, like never before seen rates since the Victorian era. Lead poisoning, because they're using mercury and lead and arsenic so often as the way they deal with getting gold out of, like, very, very small pieces of gold out of the ore that they've smashed, because it all sticks together and then they can cook it out. But then it goes into particles and it ends up in the rain nearby. It's heavy enough that it falls literally like a mile or two away when they cook that off. And it's just so sad, that their own people, maybe every man in the family is working either on the farm to try to eke by, or fishing every day, and less fish are coming in. Like, literally, they showed a lake that used to be the most plentiful lake in Myanmar, and right now there's 2 guys who fish it a day left, that still go out with their motorboat, that can afford it, and they can't. They're just old guys. So it's not that same picture everywhere, but it's definitely like, what's sad about Myanmar is there's certainly species that are right now in a window where they survived all this time because of chaos. But now the modern age has gotten so much more concentrated, toxic, and quickly moving, with our inventions and the chemicals and the things at play, the way we make war, the way we do technology, the way we waste things. It's no longer, hand-to-hand combat. It's no longer swords or muskets or slower versions of things. Now it's defoliant. Now it's not using the seeds that can grow, using a monoculture that gets something wiped out altogether and they lose their stable crop. So there's so many factors that play into this, but I'm not going to go into all that in the video, obviously. I just want to point out on this channel that, the same thing that preserves fish in Colombia and like the Guianan Shield, where we're discovering like dozens of new fish each year that are, magnificent. Sometimes they're really colorful, really bright. Like, how did we freaking miss these things? They're gorgeous. And it's because nobody was there from the Western world or from the scientific community, because it was either dangerous, chaotic, they weren't allowed in, whatever, or it was remote. And now the world is kind of getting touched everywhere. It sounds bad, but it's true. And every corner now has been impacted for a while, since the 70s or so. And so these last vestiges in Borneo, in Papua New Guinea, uh, they may have a cell phone next to the creek that works where they find the new species. I mean, it's a wild world. Like, that's how fast things are moving now. And we're kind of coming to an edge with AI and with all this technology and stuff, where, they talk about the singularity, they talk about all these things, but where the pace of development, of learning, of uh, uh, industry and business, it speeds up faster and faster. And the things we try, we need rare earth minerals, we need gold, we need this, we need micro transistors, we need micro conductors, capacitors, we need, all these different things that were never needed 50 years ago, plus all the things that were needed 50 years ago in some cases. And so things change. Instead of like mining for asbesto, now they're doing a different kind of mining. And as these things change, every one of them has its pros, its cons. Some things are cleaner, some things are dirtier, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, as progress goes on, we may be doing better or less harm in a lot of ways. But usually the very remote places are kind of on the bleeding edge of that, on the far end, like all the way back, still the dirtiest, still the most dangerous, still the most chemicals. So I just wanted to remember and remind everybody that, like, this is a connected world. People are like, talk about fish, Alex. And that's like, I am. When we talk about people and gold and semiconductors, and if America and China goes to war, does that impact the aftermarket gold that's not registered with any international committees or anything, that's sold by warlords in Myanmar, in Congo, in the South African, or I mean, in the Saharan Republic, or whatever you want to call it, the Muslim Republic of Sahara, Western Sahara, whatever you want to call the non-stated places in the world. A lot of these places have gold and have these resources, and that then they're going to use and go for. In the creeks, you need water pretty much to get gold. And you also, when you don't have money and technology and a good operation behind your technology, you need lead, you need mercury, and you need lots of water. And those things are not a good mix for an arsenic. And those are not good mixes for fish all around the world. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to cap it off there. I love y'all. I'll get off my little high horse, my whitewash wall, my map of Renaissance Paris or whatever it is. And, I really do appreciate it. But, you know, yeah, it's one of those things we just, I don't know. I don't have any answers. I just think it's good that we're aware that, like, everything has a cause and effect, and it does. Um, it does have an impact, it does have an impact. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to get out of here, you guys. I really do. Again, I appreciate all y'all. And, I'll try to be back on Tuesday again. I've got a few guests lined up in the near future coming up still. So those of you who are new to the channel, don't forget to check out the new content that's open to you. And go by the community tab, go by the posts tab, go by the podcast or audio episode only tab for members. Any of those things, go play around with that stuff and have some fun. All right, you guys, much love to all of y'all, members, non-members, lurkers, chatters. Thanks for your questions. It was a little quiet tonight. It's always the nights when I have something on my mind and we're looking at a certain fish or doing a certain thing or have a guest that, like, someone's like, I need help with this and all my fish are dying, that the questions roll in like wildfire. And then it's nights like this that it seems to just kind of creep along, and then I get on some soapbox and get myself in trouble for saying stuff that I shouldn't. and blasted. No, I don't think he'll ever be on again. But you have a good one. Now that I got Adam in my Rolodex, that's an old word. I said that word the other day, and some girls like, "What does that word mean?" I keep hearing old people say it. I was like, ah. I'm like, well, it's a thing that never mind. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Have a good night. I'll talk to you later. Oh, yeah. Take care of yourselves. Because if you don't take care of yourselves, you can't take care of the people around you, your plants, your fish, everything you love and those who love you. You can't repay the favor. So let's all work on that too and make this world one better place each day. Stephen P., I already gave you your shout outs and your stream that I told everybody go watch your freaking stream with, I almost said Tom Green, with Tom Barr. And I said that you guys, even though that episode's a year old, it definitely metastasized, that spread it all throughout my brain. First it condensed and then it metastasized all throughout my brain. The idea that, yeah, we don't really know what causes algae. Sure, we know light and excess nutrients tend to be associated with algae. Cancer tends to be associated with coffee, but that's because people who drink coffee also tend to chain smoke. There is a causal, but or there's not necessarily a causal. There is a, there's a maybe they're connected, but what does one cause the other? Or is it the other way around, or is it that they have some confounding variable in between? So, my new take, I'll say it again, we'll end the stream on this note because I suck at saying goodbye. But yeah, Steven, you ran me off, that's for sure. It is that, yeah, CO2 is what grows, that's the secret. If you really want to know how to get algae out of your life, grow healthy plants, worry about that. Get your plants healthy. Use CO2. It is the steroid of the plant world. It is not cheating. It is in nature. It is more natural. It is like nature to do that. As Tom brings up in that great episode that you guys should watch on Stephen P. 2003 Aquatics channel, who is in the chat right now. I would throw up a link, but I'm on this version of YouTube that I don't know how to do any of that. I would say that and Sunny G, yes. But I would say that chat is a great one to watch if you're a plant nerd, algae, want to know about algae, want to know about plants, but you need to have a definite basic understanding first. Maybe go watch some beginner videos and some kind of intermediate videos, and then you'll be ready. And it's phenomenal for anybody been in the hobby for a while, had some planted tanks for a few years crowd. But basically, plants, CO2, you need them. All the nutrients, you can have plenty of nutrients, and you can blame the algae on the nutrients. Like, man, you're overdoing the nitrogen or the potassium or whatever. At the end of the day, there's a healthy tank somewhere out there that probably has that same combo, doesn't have algae, but maybe it has some plant that just loves that excess nitrogen, or it loves eating up this or that, the potassium and the iron in combo that you've got. So once you dial in a tank and play with that and figure out what it needs to be and how fast you want it to grow and how dense and colorful you want your plants to be, stem plants versus short and low, slow growing, rosettes or crypts kind of plants. Then you can decide, like, okay, I'm getting algae. Do my plants look healthy? And the answer is almost always like, unless your problem is you're getting algae on the leaves of your slow growing plants, which a lot of times is just an issue of you haven't trimmed it in 6 months. Those anubias leaves are living for 6 months to a year, and you need to just trim it at the 6 month mark when it starts getting the little diatom algae on it covered. Just cut it. It'll grow a new one in a month. So just don't worry about that in 2 weeks. But yeah, it's he's someone I've tried to get on my channel a bunch of times. He's someone who said, yeah, oh yeah, I'll definitely do it sometime at some point. He's a hard to pin down guy. He's a really good expert. But Tom, yeah, like I said, I can't speak highly enough of him and the stuff he recommends. He's the guy who started the Planet Tank Report and Bar Report, and I was on those sites in 05, 06 exploring, And never did I dare really try more than really lame stuff I got at, like, Petco and PetSmart. And in theory, the internet did exist back then for reaching out to find plants, but I never explored that. Anyways, yes, thank you. Thank you, Nancy B. Let me pin this. I'm gonna pin this. Also, this chat, the chat log, if you're watching this in the replay, this should still be here. Yeah. So I just pinned the link to Stephen P. 2003 Aquatics video. And yeah, Tom does stuff. Like, he's always like, oh, in my garage, in my 120 gallon that I just have in there, he's got like 4 tanks in his garage. And like, he's just, oh yeah, I was growing some, whatever, purple aflame. And it gotten to about 3 feet tall, and I was like sick of it. So I was just like throwing this stuff out, and I had some, white Anubias, and I was like, oh, I've just got too much of it. The guy is like, he can grow it. The proof is in the pudding. Definitely with him. He's someone like Dennis Wong or 2 Hour Planted Tank. Both guys are just phenomenal with plants. They understand it. They may have some slightly different thoughts, but again, he also has the education and the PhD backing to show it. Not that that's needed, but it helps when that's what you've been teaching to others for years and you've loved the hobby your whole life. So anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Watch that if you want more plant talk. If we want to talk dirty or planty to each other, then there you go. Yeah, and it may be that too much light is what causes most of your algae. It may be that you do better in a low light, but I bet adding CO2 would also help. And I bet you could take away less light and even maybe add some other nutrients, and maybe you dial down. I don't know if you dose ferts. I just stopped dosing general ferts, though, to most of my tanks, because the stuff you feed your fish, and if you use a basic aqua soil, are enough. You'll have enough nitrates, you'll have enough stuff in your tank, unless you're changing the water once a week. If you're doing 50% water changes of water every week, then that's a little different. You do need to add stuff back in. But all right, I'm going to end it there. I said I was going to leave. I'm real bad at this, but I'm really saying goodbye now. Goodbye. I love y'all. And have a wonderful evening. Thanks, Nancy. Thanks for all the questions, guys. Kent, sorry you just got in here, and I'll talk dirty to you. Dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Dirty deeds and they're done dirt cheap. Dirty deeds and they're done dirt cheap. Hey, dirty deeds and they're done with